Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. In today's video, I wanted to share my experience of some of the most surprising cultural differences that I've encountered whilst living in England. And when I do the comparison, I'm talking about culture, the Asian culture versus the English culture. And one I've recently encountered, which really surprised me significantly because it was so different to what I was accustomed to and what I thought everybody in moments like these go through. And that was the passing of somebody. So one of my close friends recently, their father passed away, unfortunately. Upon finding out that their father passed away, I mean, if I was to compare it to what the Asian culture is like, it's more everybody gathers around at this person's house to pay their condolences, to help out, to be there whilst the person's going through the mourning stage. There isn't much space that's given to that person because they're constantly, I mean, I can recall back to September 2000 when my grandma passed away. I remember the day vividly, although I was only about 9 or 10, but I remember the day vividly because we literally had a marquee set up in the garden and tons of family, friends, relatives, everybody just came and gathered at our house and mourned with us for at least a week. It was at least a week, and it was a sad time, and people were just coming to our house and there was food and drinks that were being prepared. I can see why it's inconvenient for people that have lost someone, because now you've got to not solely concentrate on who you've lost, but now you've got to feed and host so many people that have come to mourn. So it can be seen as actually it's a bit of an inconvenience. However, recently what happened when my friend's father passed away, they did not want anyone to come to the house. They didn't want anybody to phone in and pay the condolences. Not even much as a text message. They genuinely didn't want anybody to even send them a text to say, I'm sorry about your loss. But it's fine, because that's the way of them dealing with that tragedy that's happened to them. That's the way that they grieve. But it was just so different to what I was used to. So different to what I had seen in my culture growing up in Pakistan. And what I thought was normal. I thought people die. When people die, people gather around, and family, relatives and friends gather around to comfort them and mourn with them. But no, it was truly a culture shock for me. And it got me thinking. It got me thinking to what would it be when I die? And what's suitable? Do I want tons of people coming around to my house and making it inconvenience to the family with the food and the hospitality that you have to do? But on the flip side, it's nice to feel the love and feel the community vibes around your house and people mourning together. I mean, if I reflect back, and this might change in the future, but currently I wouldn't want people to mourn for me. I would want people to celebrate my life, think about the happy moments, because the downside of the Asian tradition of mourning about people, it just goes on for too long, and people cry and cry and cry, and every time a new guest arrives at the house, you have to cry even more to show them how sad you are, and then they cry with you, and the crying just goes on and on and on. So to be honest, it's probably not the best way, but it's like all things, trying to find a balance between the two, where you don't just completely blank off and say, I don't want someone to even phone me or pass their condolences or anybody to turn up at my house. You don't want it to be like that. And I wouldn't want it to be like, oh, tens of people coming out of my house. You have to set up marquees. It's cost, it's inconvenience, it's hosting so many people. And on top of that, you're grieving for the person that you've lost. So that was a surprising culture difference that I encountered recently. The second one is when someone's born. When a baby is born in a Asian family, the Asian culture is, again, everybody gathers around. The moment you are told that so-and-so's had a baby, I mean, if you're close family, you end up at the hospital. You don't care what state they're in. You're excited about the family. You end up with balloons, flowers at the hospital, bedside, congratulating them, all that kind of stuff. And then the celebrations just start. And then you've got people coming to see the baby, and it goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And before the mother and the baby have had some personal time, it's literally months. The baby's like 3-4 months old. Because that, again, the guests coming and the family coming and everybody wants to hold the baby and all that kind of stuff. So that is what I was used to from living in Pakistan and the culture that I grew up in. Now, fast forward to living in England, and what I've now recently seen is people want space when they have a baby. They don't want people turning up at their house straight away. My cousin had a baby boy a few months back, and his wife was like, I'm going to need at least 2 weeks before I see your family. Now, for him, coming from the Asian culture, it was very awkward because his family are expecting to go and see the baby immediately. I mean, his parents have had the first grandchild. His brother and his sister have had the first nephew. They wanted to see the baby straight away. But the wife was like, no, it's going to be a few weeks. I need to settle, blah, 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 blah. So again, it's about finding the balance. You've got to respect that it's quite a traumatic experience for the lady. So she isn't immediately going to be ready to start seeing guests and seeing family and relatives. Versus the balance of there's a new family member, people are going to be excited and they want to see the baby. So again, finding the balance. And if I could summarize it in one and really, really, really hit the nail on the head, it would be in the Asian cultures and in the Asian families, when you marry someone, you don't just marry them. You marry the family that comes with it. So to anybody who's thinking about marrying outside of their culture, outside of their caste, if they're English and you're marrying an Asian person, you need to understand this, that you're not just marrying them, you're marrying the family. And vice versa, if you're Asian and you're marrying an English person, you need to understand that they have their certain ways of living that you have to respect. And it's all about finding that balance between the two. There's no right or wrong, it's all what you're used to. I'm going to use my favorite phrase, which is, it's all about the perspective, right? So it's all about experience and what's built into you and what you're used to. The key is, how do you find the balance? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got value from it, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.